This place, Knowsley Village, which we're just going to head down to now, which is on the signpost there. The lane runs parallel now with the wall to Lord Derby's estate, which stretches for miles. It's a vast estate, and I used to spend idyllic summers in there because I was part of the Boy Scouts that were called Lord Derby's Own, and we used to stay sometimes for most of the summer holidays in the park, and it was just incredible. You can see if you drive along here, I often make the point, nobody ever picks up on it, that my upbringing was absolutely as much, if not more, rural in terms of location than it was urban. When the prefabricated bungalow houses that I lived in when I moved from Rainhill, when they were eventually knocked down as unfit for human habitation, we moved here to a purpose-built estate that was called the Sugar Lane Estate, still is called the Sugar Lane Estate. And I lived on Home Farm Road. And I'm just looking for 77, if I can find it. So that must be 70, that's 71, 73, 75. 77. And yeah, I lived here from, it would have been about 1960, 61 till late 65. And it's where I spent my early teenagehood. And I began writing songs, in fact, in that house there. I remember I've got a picture, I was still in the Boy Scouts in those days. And I remember meeting a girl at a party with whom I started a kind of thing. And I phoned her one week. I mean, I was really, really, delighted to have this girlfriend. But I remember phoning her from a phone box down in the middle of the village, and said I couldn't see her because I had a scout meeting. And as I said it, I could hear that it sounded to somebody slightly older. Like, you might have to readjust your priorities from now on, So it was shortly after that I gave up me woggle and me beret.
Oh, mama, we're gonna keep it in the family.
Berry Hill Avenue, my great friend Dave Bell, who used to be in the Kirkby Town 3, lived here. That's where my granny lived, over there. Longborough Road, my great mate Tom Evans, who co-wrote Without You, lived just down there. Derek Edwards, the other member of the Kirkby Town 3, lived over here on the left. In fact, Derek and Dave lived 4 or 5 doors away from each other. My great friend Mike Stacey lived in that house on the corner. And I remember being in that house when a girl first broke my heart by finishing with me. Oh, the cricket club's gone by the look of it. Oh, is that it there? No, it's gone. What a shame. That's where I first rehearsed with the Movers. This was St John's Club up here. Is it still there? Yeah, we rehearsed in there as well. Yeah, St John Fisher. Yeah, we'd gotten into Dillon by then. When I was with that early group that I wrote my first song, and I went in and I think I probably played it to the group as if it was an existing song, i.e. not by me, and it passed, I mean, they were okay to sing and do the song, and so the song became, for a short while, became a part of our set. There were 30 to 40 kind of folk clubs that you could go to without leaving the Merseyside area. Just a room above a pub, I mean, nothing grand where you'd have anything from like 30 to 300 people assembled. And if you were a young hopeful like I was, you could put your name down for floor spots. So you had, for example, the Spinners group had a club in West Derby Road in a pub called Gregson's Well. And I went. I wasn't a great Spinners fan, but I went there because it was, listen to music. And unbeknownst to me, in the interval, a mate of mine went up to Mick Groves as a Spinners and gave my name as someone who'd do a floor spot. I mean, I wasn't ready at that time. I'd written a few songs. I'd written a few comic songs, parody songs. And I'm sitting there, just watching, and the Spinners start the second half, and then starts announcing the floor singers. And the next thing is, my name's announced, and like, what? So I get up and I borrow Mick's, Gibson. I've never held a Gibson guitar in my life. It's worth hundreds of pounds, and I was playing a chopped up cheese grater, really. And so it was incredible, all this. And I started playing this song. It was a comic song, as I say. And I was terrified. And it was almost like an out-of-body experience. And I heard this out-of-time drummer, I thought. And it was my knees knocking together, I think. It was that kind of thing. But at the same time, I could hear gales of laughter coming from this audience at the point, where the song was trying to get its laughs. And this is the lodge that we used to use to go to our scout camp. And there were only about 10 of us in the troop. I had a key to here, and some of my most idyllic memories are of time spent in Knowsley Park, and we had access to all of this private land. I mean, beginning of the summer holidays, 3 or 4 of us would turn up, check in with the lodge, go to the boathouse, get the tents out, pitch a camp there, dig out to make the trench fires, stuff like that, and just live there. Occasionally we'd go home to change our clothes or what have you, But when the weather was fair, we'd just stay for weeks on end, and it was absolutely fantastic. It was great.
Any father would be glad to know.
There's nothing left of the estate that was demolished, but we'll try and find it anyway.
He would forgive you.
Knowsley Lane. This is the lane, and running parallel on the other side of these bushes was Knowsley Drive, looking out, and everything is still there as it was when I was a kid. My house was just over that fence where that huge industrial unit now is. My house was just over there, and the whole of the Maypole estate was on the other side of here, just down to the corner. There were about 350 of these rotting bungalows on that side.
Oh no, no, no. Don't say a word.
If anybody has read The Wrong Boy and knows the fly trapping sequence, it's the only truly autobiographical thing in the book, and it actually took place in Mill Lane Woods by the River Alt. And these fields are where we used to go, this field particularly, we used to go pea picking in the pea season, spud picking in October. And our houses were just opposite here. God, this is just... I'm staggered that so much of this is exactly as it was all those many, many years ago. I remember this was a great lover's lane for those of us when we just learnt how to drive, That was a great place for parking up. It looks like it still is. Not for me though.
The bombed out slag of a media hag is giving it some welly.
We used to play footy on that meadow. And I remember there was a day where we were playing the village team, and I was playing for our team, Maypole, and my dad was brought in. The referee didn't turn up, so I asked my dad, who'd never refereed in his life before, to referee. And in his anxiety to be seen to be absolutely scrupulously fair and not show any nepotism towards me. When I scored a perfectly legitimate goal, he disallowed it. I can still remember the row at home. It went on for days. I was beyond. The first piece of work that I wrote that actually referenced where I lived or where I'd been brought up was the first piece of work that I consider my first serious writing outside of the song form. And it was, I got very into the work of Robert Burns when I was a teenager because of Scottish connections. And I had got to know his great long ballad poem, Tam O'Shanter. I sat down and I started to update, translate it, and it became a piece of mine called Sam O'Shanker. And instead of it being about a guy, a drunkard in the 18th century who has to get back from his long night in the boozer, he has to get back on his horse and he has to go past church and the witches and the devil or the. I set the whole thing in the now. And this is where his car, Sam's van, breaks down, and the van breaks down here, and he has to get out, and in the pouring rain and the howling wind he sees the devil with a guitar, electric guitar, in the middle of that graveyard, and all around him witches start this erotic, massively erotic dance, and Sam is absolutely transfixed looking at this in his inebriated state. And one witch starts to throw off all her clothes as she's dancing and dancing and dancing. And then it looks like she's not going to take any more off, and Sam forgets where he is and what he's looking at and shouts out, "Go on there, love, get the rest off." And of course then they're all on him. The witches and the devil chasing him, flying out down Knowsley Lane. He's desperately trying to reach the River Alt because he knows that if he can get to water, witches and spirits and devils can't cross over running water. So he's motoring down here like, and then he looks in the mirror and he sees a Ford GT coming up behind him, and the devil is driving it with the witches on the bonnet waiting to get him. Anyway, this is the Derby Arms pub where I had my first ever pint. When you drank back in the day, there was an etiquette to drinking. There was a behaviour. I mean, being able to hold your own, was a compliment. Not, oh, I got slaughtered. The fact that you could drink and know your limit. The fact that you didn't mix certain drinks because you'd made. All the law of drinking was kind of handed down, not in a formal way, but you learnt things like that,